Thank you for tuning in to the Unjiggered podcast. If you enjoy listening, please consider subscribing and giving us a rating on your podcast service of choice. Also, don't forget to like and tag us on Instagram at unjiggered_media. Thank you to everybody for listening, and now on with the show. You're listening to Unjiggered, a bartender podcast where we interview highly successful bartenders about their careers, lives, and the passion of bartending. This week on the podcast, we have the one and only Mr. Erik Lorincz. He chats with us about his journey from Prague to the American bar at the Savoy to Kwãnt in London. With this podcast, we want to peel back the mask and discover just how the greats really became the greats. So without further ado, please enjoy.
Hello, Michele. So my name is Erik Lorincz. I'm the founder of the Kwãnt bar, co-founder of Birdie by Erik Lorincz Bar Tools, and hopefully there will be more to come.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much for finding the time.
Pleasure.
So, Erik, we have a lot to cover because your career spans for quite a bit of time. So let's go right into it. So first of all, we all know you for your incredible bartending skills. But at what point did you first think about becoming a bartender?
Very first was high school. So when I entered to my high school, it was hospitality, kind of like hospitality management school, where we were covering all topics or all areas of F&B. So it was a kitchen, it was a front of house, back of house, and obviously when we were in a restaurant part or bar part, taking over that, so that was like a bit of a glance of bartending. And that time, I'm talking about 1996-7, there were no bars or cocktail bars in Slovakia at all. And so they couldn't provide us like a real information that we could go and see bartenders. So it was all just presented by our master and showing us some videos of bartenders. But when I've seen this video of a bartender, I go, wow, that looks incredible. And surprisingly, that one of the first cocktail I still remember that our teacher was demonstrating was the White Lady. Because they were
No way.
Yes, because all the specs they were from IBA, and obviously ingredients of the White Lady, it's not something super complicated. And yeah, so there was a White Lady, there was a gin fizz, and a few other drinks. I remember first time I tried olives, and I didn't know what an olive was because we were making a dry martini as well. So I took one quickly, put it in my mouth. I was like, oh my god, this is so sour. So I was thinking it was like some fruit, but it was super sour and very salty. I was like, oh my lord, what the hell is this? So yeah, that was the very first start. And then obviously it didn't die inside of me, that curiosity, but it was just nothing around me. So I was no such a thing like a cocktail bar or any source of information. And then I started slowly searching for like, where can I learn about this bartending? So I found some books, and then I found a advertisement that was for a final round of the Beefeater cocktail competition in Prague. And I said, this sounds cool. There was a bartender posing with the two Beefeater bottles behind his neck, pouring into a shaker. And I said, this is awesome. I want to go here. So I went to a travel agency and I showed them that this date, this is happening in Prague. Could you get me accommodation, tickets for this event, and all the things to get me there? So they organized everything for me. I came with a big camcorder like this. And I filmed the whole competition. I came back home and I started watching it. So that was like a first actual material I had. I think I still have it on a VHS in my parents' house that I recorded, and I started watching the guys, how they were doing this. It was like a mini world class because there were different challenges they had to do. But there were some challenges that you won't see today in a cocktail competition. And those were the challenges which we were always doing at the Savoys, like where's the next cash machine, or what is around you? And the guys, they had to answer such things as well. And it was like quite fun to see on the cocktail competition. Anyway, so I've seen that, and then I completely got involved. Like, okay, I want to know more about the bartending. I want to discover this. I want to learn more. So straight away, I found the Slovak Bartending Association. I phoned them up. I asked them, like, how does it work, if I can join and learn about bartending and so on. And they told me, like, yeah, this is the course, this is the price. It takes, I think it was like a 1 week. We show you some videos of bartenders making cocktails. You do a test, and we give you international certificates that you can use all around the world, and you can apply for a job as a bartender. And I go, what I'm gonna learn in 1 week? And I'm not even.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, do you have a bar I can practice? It's like, no, it's all in the classroom, so you all study. I was like, no. This is not how I want to go. And then I found a book where the guy who wrote this book, Roman Uhliš, he was actually a former beefeater world champion. And it was quite a massive achievement that someone from Czech Republic would actually become a world champion in beefeater. And he was actually trained by a guy who was teaching Tom Cruise in the movie Cocktail. So
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so his mentor was actually, I forgot his name. He passed away, but he had a bartending school here in London, and he attended the bartending school. So he was like full on updated that what was happening like 20 years back. That there were 2 cocktail bars in Prague. There was a Baxis and a Traitors, and that was it. And then some few bars that they were making drinks here and there. But those were the 2 bars, and he was one of the like a leading bartender on the market. That instead of him opening a bar, he decided to open a school. And I found him. I called him, but because I've seen so much flair on this, so I called him. It's like, hey Roman, I just read about your school. I'd like to learn about flair. Boom! He put the phone down on me.
No way.
Yes. I was like, okay, what's going on here? I tried again, phone him back. Saying, I'd like to learn about being a bartender, become a bartender. It's like, that's a different story, because the flair is just one cherry on the top of a big cake. Because his school was literally about this. So the school was 3 months and Monday to Friday, every single day. In his book he had 120 classics, and every single day we went through 5 drinks. So imagine by Friday, you had to have 25 recipes by heart. You had to know them. How to make them, what's the garnish, what's the technique, what's our ingredients. And every day we were just jumping behind the bar, and he was just calling the drinks, and you had to make them. And I remember my first, like a day 3, I was just taking it so easy that time. I was like, okay, recipe here, recipe there. And then I jump behind the bar, and he goes, okay, make me a rub roll, make me a Manhattan, and make me a dry martini. It's like, man, completely lost. And then I realized, okay, I need to, if I want to get somewhere, I really need to study. So I was just like waking up with that book, and I was going to sleep with that book every single day. And then the thing was that he came to me saying, you from Slovakia? Because there was only one Slovakia, and there were all guys from Czech Republic all around the country that they were attending the course. And he goes, do you know what? I'm consulting on a first cocktail bar in Slovakia. It's just opened like a few weeks ago. And they're looking for bartenders. And I'm going there over the weekend, so you can come with me and do some action. It's like, wow, okay. So I went. We went to Bratislava, arrived to this amazing, beautiful, small cocktail bar in the heart of Bratislava, about 55 seats. All are so updated, so cool, and for me, so new that time. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I never forget my first step behind the bar. I jumped behind the bar, and the first guest came. He was standing next to me. He took order. He just told me, like, okay, make this. I don't know what was that drink. But I remember my hands were so shaking. And I said, like, this is not cool. If my hands will be shaking like this, that will be so embarrassing when people will watching me making drinks and my hands were so shaky. And I wasn't like nervous. I just had this something inside of me that my hands were so shaky. But that went without even me noticing that actually I'm not even shaking anymore. So what happened next was we went back to Prague, and the owner of the bar, he called me back again saying, would you like to come over the weekend, the next weekend? I was like, yeah, sure. So everything went so well, and because the bar was the first bar, got so busy, everyone was just like cocktails and give me the thing with the green thing inside with the weed. I was like, you mean mojito? And with that, it's become so popular, and they were still short of staff. So what was happening, and he wanted to meet there for every single weekend. So for 3 months, I was going back and forth between Prague and Bratislava every weekend. And after when I finished my course, he just offered me a job full time, and straight away I had job. So I started there and stayed with him about 3.5 years. And that was.
How old were you at this stage?
I was 21.
21, eh?
I was 21, and when I came to London, I was 24. In January 18, 2004. So when I came to London, it was just like a big dream because I decided to learn English. I wanted to learn more about bartending. And again, it was another thing that in Slovakia, I couldn't see any information. Like all the information I found about bartending were on internet, all in English. Couldn't understand a word of it. Same time when I was at, it was a Greenwich cocktail bar. That was the name of the bar. They opened a month later, they opened Paparazzi, where Stan started working. And Stan was already traveled around the world. He was bringing books, but all the books he had were all in English. So I was like, I couldn't understand the word out of it. So I decided I need to go to a country where I can learn English and learn more about bartending. And I said, I can't think of any other city than London, because London, it's close, 2 hours fly, and it's massive capital and has so much potentials. And when I arrived, I just see the city just like, wow, they have something big here. First thing I did, I came to London, I bought a bar guide and slowly started ticking the boxes. And over the weekend, I had a language school Monday to Friday. And over the weekend, I was going through the bars because I was looking for a job. Obviously, I need to find something where I could work.
So how was language school for you? Was it like challenging, or did you pick up quite quickly?
Think what I've done when I came to the language school, I've seen lots of people from Czech Republic, some from Slovakia, but big community of South Korea. So when I came to the school and everyone was on the first day, everyone was talking their own language. And when I heard Slovakians or Czechs, I was like, okay, I'm not going to that table. And then I heard Asians, I was like, that's kind of cool. So I go there. So I sat next to Asians. I sat around all the guys from South Korea.
So you learned English and kimchi at the same time.
Yeah. Oh man, they were doing kimchi. So I started living with the guys as well. So when I looked for a flat, so one of the guy was renting a big flat and he had a room available. So I was like, yeah, I want to live with you guys. I love this. So I moved in with the 5 Koreans.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the kimchi was fermenting in the kitchen, and they were just like, my God, what the hell is this?
No way.
I had no idea.
So they do their own kimchi, so they kept the kimchi fermenting like 24/7 kind of thing?
Yeah, in the kitchen. So
no way.
Smell. First for me was like, what on earth is this? And then it's like kimchi. So I tasted it. I was like, this is delicious. So that was awesome. My first contact with it. So then, so the way how I learned was I tried to avoid anyone from languages I could speak. So when I had because I have Hungarian surname, so there was a very famous Hungarian singer with me in the language school. When I told my mom, like, this guy is with me, she goes like, what? He's like one of the most famous singers. Like, really? And I was playing on him because I said, no, I'm not. I can't speak Hungarian. I'm from Slovakia. And then the guys were from Slovakia. Like, so where are you from? I said, I'm from Hungary. So I was like, I tried to play them that I can't speak the mother language which you are speaking. So I was always playing the opposite to make sure that we don't use the language. That's probably helped me a lot because I picked it up within, I think, within 6 months. I was working in the bar. I was already capable to take orders, and it wasn't a bar, it was a nightclub actually. I started in this nightclub. I was as a busboy. So the busboy back in that days, I don't know if it still exists. I was actually kind of like an assistant to a waitress. So not even to a bartender, but to a waitress. So basically the way how it goes, that the waitress, she had 4 tables, and if the guests came, order a bottle of champagne or a bottle of booze, I was the one who ran brought the ice bucket, brought the glasses, and she would just pour the champagne, and then I was just cleaning, bringing fresh glasses, that time still smoking inside, so cleaning the ashtrays and brushing the floor because people just didn't care. They just were throwing the cigarettes on the floor. Yeah, I was like, my God, what the hell is this? I never seen this. But I was like, okay, it's like zero responsibilities. You just, yes, no, that was the answer. Bring ice, yes. Bring glass, yes. And
It's more yes than no, the answer as well.
exactly, that was it. And then obviously I really wanted to show that I want to work behind the bar. It was like I've worked before behind the bar, so they gave me opportunity. So I became a bar back behind the bar. So it's like, oh, finally I'm actually behind the bar. But it was a nightclub where people were just drinking vodka Red Bulls and JD and Cokes. But anyways, like at least I've got something. I'm in my world of bartending and become a bar back, become a head bar back. And then I was kind of bringing friends in. So when Marian Becker came to London, I got him a job there. So he was working with me in that club. We both barbecuing. And then we both become a bartenders.
I mean, but what a barback team, eh?
Yeah.
You and Marian Beck.
if they knew what they've got there.
If they knew, huh? Barback team of the century, man.
Yeah, it was because we were such a hard workers. Like then the bar manager, still remember him because I'm in touch with him on Instagram, Llewellyn, South African guy. Like he loved us. It was like, Erik, do you have some more Slovakian guys? Because we were such a hard workers. So there was a moment that in that nightclub, we had like 5-6 Slovakians or Czech guys because they were such a hard workers.
That's so cool. And at what point have you actually had your first proper bar job?
So right after the club, because what happened, we both, Marian, realized that was like, okay, this is not where we want to get stuck and just like, let's move on. And then Marian, through someone, found a contact that they were opening a living room on a Head-on Street, where now is a Gordon Ramsay Head-on Street kitchen. And this is like they're looking for bartenders there. So we both went there, but it was kind of like a part-time job. We didn't work full-time there. And then it was like, we need some proper job because it was like before every shift you had to do a free pour test. And you've been told, like when you make a cocktail, that you have to flare. And we hated it both. Like we don't want to flare, we just want to do a proper service. And it was so annoying. And it's like, okay, this is not what we want to do. And then we both found a job on the same street but different bars. I went to this Japanese restaurant called Nozomi on a Bicham place, and on the end of the Bicham place used to be the sister bar of Lab, the Townhouse.
Okay.
So Marian was there in Townhouse, and I was at Nozomi, the Japanese restaurant. So we were still like close to each other, relatively close, just on the same street. And then we started going around the bars, checking out who is what doing. Montgomery Place was opening, and I don't know if you heard about Drink Boy. So there was no Facebook, no Instagram. So there's a guy called Robert Hess. He is a co-founder of American Museum of Cocktails, and he's a Microsoft engineer. And he came up with this, and it still exists. Look it up, Drink Boy. So it was an online platform where bartenders would chat about different topics. Super cool. So that was the first kind of our Facebook where you could chat, share ideas. And I was constantly sitting on it and reading what other guys doing around the world. And they were very, very interesting topics. And then I found out Nidal Ramini was writing on it. And he wrote about Montgomery Place. So I found out actually on the Drink Boy that Montgomery Place is opening. And when I was reading about it, I was like, this place sounds super cool. So I told Marian, I was like, Marian, I've heard about this new bar in Notting Hill. Let's go have a look. So we went. Marian loved it. Ago Perone was there. He was an opening team. And then what happened? Ago still remember that Marian stolen the menu because obviously he loved it so much. and Marian straight away applied for a job there. And then I've got a job after that. He told me that Giuseppe Gallo was his regular guest. And he told me that, hey, I've got this guy, Italian guy, Giuseppe, and he works in the Sanderson Hotel. and he's looking for a bartender. I was like, okay, I'm happy to see him, because I was like, I'd like to try something new, different. Now this hotel bar could be interesting. It was a trendy new, very modern hotel bar. Sanderson Hotel had 2 bars, and one of the proper bar, was only for residents, and it was tiny little bar, like 10 seats. Really reminded me Japanese bars, and that time we were already going to Japan to see the bars, what they're doing, how they're doing. So I was very influenced by that, but learned all the techniques, ice carvings, took some lessons from Kazuo Ueda, but it says like, I cannot use this here in these busy bars. Ice carving, nobody really care about it. I was like, in this tiny little bar, I can really take my time and play with the ice. And that was the first time, actually, I ordered an ice block, and I had to explain them, just like make me a solid block without any shape, size, or anything, because they were not doing that. They were just making statues from it. They were not selling that time ice blocks. So I had to really explain them. It was like, I want to just like a solid block of this size, and just send it over to me.
Did you manage to, was it difficult to try to convince them to give you this sort of product, or?
Because, that time they haven't had the standard size. So they were making the blocks from, through that big machine. The block was 150 kilo.
120 kilos, yeah.
Yeah, so he told me the price is like 150 pounds. It's like, mate, you're selling me frozen water. It's like, how are you charging me 150 pounds? And he goes, yeah, because it's 150 kilos. I was like, okay, I don't need a freaking mammoth. I just need a small block. So I explained it, because I've seen them in Japan. I've seen the blocks, it's just like a 60 centimeters on 20 and 30. So he cut it on from me, and that's how the whole thing started here in London, basically.
So you essentially invented the bar block.
Yeah.
Or imported it into the UK.
Yeah, because they were doing the statues, so they were already freezing those blocks, but they were making statues. They couldn't think of this can be used for the bars, because obviously they were not the bartenders.
So, and how was the experience at the Sanderson hotels? Did you manage to apply these things that you wanted to?
Partially, yes, but thanks to Giuseppe's help, that we kind of transformed the whole bar, because the purple bar was only a vodka bar. So he opened as a vodka bar, 160 vodkas on the back bar, and that's it. Nothing else.
No way.
Imagine 160 vodkas. You had some house wine, house champagne, and you had speed rail. So that was Blackwood vodka and Gordon's gin, Jack Daniels, and something, and that was it. And I looked at him and I said, well, I think we could do something more here, right? We can do something better. So it's like slowly. So slowly we started below the display. I was building, that's where I got you remember this from Savoy, where I've learned the champagne boxes to build the shelves.
Yeah.
So that's where it started. It started at Sanderson Hotel, because it was a Christmas time, and our house champagne was Dom Perignon.
Oh, not about the house champagne, huh?
It was super exclusive. So it was very exclusive, and during the Christmas, the Dom Perignon came in a gift boxes, very solid black boxes. So I was like, this is perfect. So it's black, it's almost invisible, solid, and I built the whole entire back bar with those boxes. So below those 160 bottles of vodkas, I built another pyramid where we just started buying, because we just couldn't say can we buy 10 rums? So we always were saying to our managers we had this guest here and he asked for this rum. So can we buy it? So it was slowly building. And it was a year later, we had fantastically stocked bar, because I remember that time, our house rye whiskey was Van Winkle, 13 years old rye. That was our house.
Oh, yeah. Back when it was still available, that was a fantastic rye, yeah?
And I remember the words Colin Dunn told me, Erik, this whiskey will be so valuable. And I said, yeah. I'm going to put one on side. But that never happened. And then never one arrived. And I said, oh my Lord. Colin was completely right, that this whiskey became just so rare and we couldn't find it anymore. So that's with Giuseppe, we built that bar, and then I thought, okay, I think it's time to move on, because he became a global ambassador for Martini.
Mm-hmm.
And ideally, I was like, I'd like to work in a new opening, do a new opening, be a part of a new opening, so gain some new experience. Because, you know, if you have a bartender as a dream to open your own bar, you need to learn how to do it from scratch. And I never had that opportunity here. So, and that time I heard the Kwãnt bar was opening. That time I already knew Agostino, so I contacted him. It was like, I've heard that you applied for a head bartender role. Or apply, actually, he was appointed, he was offered the job, but he was kind of still thinking, he wasn't decided. So I just went for an interview, had one interview, second interview, and they said, okay, we like your profile, we're offering you a job. I got the contract from HR. But I was holding it. They keep calling me, Eric, can you send us the contract? And I was like, did you sign the papers? Because I was just waiting for him to sign. It's like, if you don't sign, I'm not gonna go for it. Because I want to work with the best team I could. And I've seen in him that, because I knew at the Montgomery place, he was doing an amazing job there. And I said, I really, really want to work with him. So it took him quite a while to make that decision, because for him it was also a big step, you know, coming from a street bar, such a young age, to go to hotel bar, because that time, I'm talking about 2008, it's nearly, it's over 12 years. That time you haven't seen so many young bartenders in the hotel bar. So the hotel bars were not that popular around. You had Ritz Hotel, you had Dorchester Hotel, Savoy was still closed that time, so Duke's Hotel, and that was it. But if you went to these bars, Claridge's, if you went to these bars, you found like bartenders who've been there working like 30 years, keeping their territory, and there was a very old school bartending. It was like, I can't imagine how I could work with this. Like, you had all this, I was reading books from El Bulli and see these old guys. It's like, if I tell them something, what I read about the book, he won't even get me. It's like, how I can work in this bar. But I thought, with Agostino, with a young team, you can do that in a hotel bar. So the moment he signed it, I said, okay, I'm up for it, sign it. Riccardo Semeria was in an opening team as well. And who else? Santino Cicciari, he was the bar manager. He was an excellent bar manager. He actually worked at the Blue Bar. He came from Blue Bar.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, small world.
Yeah. And once everything got kicked off, it was amazing that each of us were so into it, and it was amazing opening, beautiful bar, and a young team. I still remember we were doing the new menu. We were doing it in one of the butler's room on upstairs with no air conditioning, just one fridge. And that's how we did the first menu with Agostino. I was still at the Sanderson, so Ago was already full time on creating the menu, and I was doing like before work or after work, I'll come and join him, did a couple hours, did some development, and then once my probation finished at the resignation finish, I joined him as well, and that was it. We were super excited to work in such an amazing bar in an amazing hotel.
Probably one of the most iconic things that you've introduced together with Ago, I'm assuming, there at the Kwãnt is the Martini trolley, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How did that idea come about?
Yeah, the Martini trolley was such a cool thing so Ago had this idea of taking the Martini to next level and offering those different bitters. And I was more looking into the practical part, the theater part of it. And I was, every time when we were serving that, they had to be served by two people. So if you order a Kwãnt Martini, two people had to come and serve you, because one would come with a tray, had all the bitters, the mixing glass, and the Martini glass ready for you. And the second one, the bartender, he would be presenting you the bitters. And that normally would take sometimes even 5 minutes. So imagine for 5 minutes, 2 members of staff standing around one table. And I was dying behind the bar, tickets coming out, people around, because it was just busy, and another bartender, because they were on shift, there were only 2 bartenders. So one is out and one is just behind the bar. And so it's like, this is challenging. And then that was a moment I was going a lot to Japan. And in Japan, I see this elegance and just so much attention. And then I was like, why don't we bring that experience to a table by doing a trolley? So the first thing was we approached David Collins, who designed the whole entire bar. And he said, yeah, guys, I can do it for you. £60,000.
Whoa!
We all went, what? £60,000? It's like, this is crazy. But that time I was in this Tanqueray number 10 Martini guild, which was founded by Angus Winchester. And he was just debating about Martini. It was always 10 bartenders and just meeting up here and there and just talking about how can you do the Martini differently. What's your ratio? What's your vermouth? What's your technique? What's your garnish? And this was him because he loved that, being so punctual. And I was one of the 10 and built this relationship with Diageo. And I went to Diageo, just like, guys, would you be interested? And I did a drawing, like this is how I imagined to do the trolley, that we would have the vermouths, the gins, so we can come to a table not just with one gin, but with few gins. So I did my first drawing and I presented to them. It's like, we are looking for something like this. And the guys from there just said like, yeah, we can do that. You do it as a signature would be the Tanqueray number 10 and we can build the trolley for you. So that was with Colin done because I had a good relationship with Colin. So I called Colin and I told him this and loved the idea. So he introduced me to the guys. And that time the first trolley was designed by Wesley. So Wesley came in and he just like gave him a brief that we're going to make it very chic, that you see the Connaught bar. So he sat down, pen and paper. He did his own draft. I told him a briefing, what we looking for. And he did beautiful trolley that was just a masterpiece taken from the interior of the bar design. That's how the trolley was born.
And what was the reception from your guests? Like, did they like it, or because it's still there? So it's certainly
still there. Hey, we took that trolley once even to Paris.
I saw the video on YouTube actually.
We took it to Paris, and that was a crazy one because we were wondering how we're gonna take this. And I looked it up on a Eurostar. And the Eurostar was 2 ways. You can carry music instruments or sport equipments. And it says like, you cannot carry furniture. And it says like, this is a furniture. So I goes, you know what? I'm gonna circle it that this is a music instrument. And Ago was like, you crazy? Like, look, we're going to wrap this up. We will wrap it, we close it, and all what you just see, just the wheels. And it says like, if you close it, we will play that we are musicians and this is a little piano.
Piano trolley.
So I filled up the form. I had to fill up like a special form on that you are having an oversized equipment. So I said, yeah, we have. This is the little piano. So we put it on, we took it there, and that's how we introduced it. That's a little piano.
No way. And it didn't catch you because you managed to
take
it away.
Because it was wrapped. It was wrapped up. So if you just looked at the legs.
That's legendary.
If you looked at the legs, that was just wheels. You couldn't see it. And nobody could imagine it's like that's a trolley because that time, who had trolleys here? Nobody had trolleys. So, and it was amazing because with that, it created more attention to it. And I think Tatler magazine even gave us an award for that as a best Martini experience for that. So we actually went to Tatler Awards. We made like freaking 300 martinis in 45 minutes. It was an amazing experience. Another great story which we had with the trolley was that when you were walking into a Connaught bar, as you enter, the first area was made of marble. The middle part was a carpet, and in front of the bar it was marble again. So when you were going through these sections from the bar area towards to the entrance, you had to go through the carpet. And this carpet was bespoke, made. And every time when we went into it with the trolley, the whole thing was just shaking and things were falling off. And I remember that time David Collins came into a bar and he was there with Gwyneth Paltrow and he was just showing off because he loved that trolley. He was bringing people in like, hey, have a look, this is amazing piece, this is the Martini trolley, because it looked like the bar. So people couldn't tell that wasn't his design because it looks exactly like the bar. And he was super proud about it. And when he was there with Gwyneth, I said to him, it's like, we have a little problem here. It's like every time I'm coming to this carpet, the whole thing just shaking. And he goes, okay, leave this with me. And within 24 hours, we received the email saying the bar is closing on Sunday. What's going on? We're doing a little adjustment here. They cut the carpet off, put the marble down.
No way, so you could go with the trolley.
He said like, no, we need to do, and he goes like, we're going to do a little catwalk here for the trolley. So if you go back to Kwãnt, have a look, in the middle part with the carpet, then there's this marble that wasn't there. He just told him, he said, no problem, I saw this out, cut the middle, put the marble down, job done.
The power of celebrity endorsement, huh?
As well, but at the same time, this was the statement of people who really care and they have so much the attention for details and they just want to make it perfect. Okay is not enough, and that was the beauty thing about it. And that's what I loved about Kwãnt, that it was all about making it perfect.
Yeah, it's one of the common things about Mayborn as a hotel group. They have this thing that if it's not perfect, it's not all right.
Exactly.
And they will change it.
Totally.
So during your time at the Kwãnt, actually, the first time I've seen a picture of you, it was on the Evening Standard. This was because of your world class competition, which happened while you were at the Kwãnt.
Yes, I was still at the Kwãnt. That's right.
Would you like to talk to us about that?
So the world class competition came that actually I was supporting Ricardo because he was competing in the first round, 2009. And I was just looking into it. It's like, what is this competition about? It's like, I need to do this. I need to do 2 cocktails to present. So it's like, okay, that sounds interesting. So I helped him to like how to prepare, to do the drinks. And then me and Ago, we just went to see him. And he made it to the UK final. And we were watching him. And he's talking. He made it to the top 10. And he talking, making the drinks, shaking. Suddenly he pours, and me and Ago just like with our eyes, just like, oh, you want more ingredients. And he poured into his glass, and suddenly the drinks come too short. And we knew what's going wrong here, but he was in such a delirium that he didn't notice that we didn't put a Tanqueray 10 in it.
Oh no, man!
That was basically, he was this much away to be to make it, but he completely forgot it, and that triggered my things like, okay, next year I want to try world class. So I went for it. I found it very interesting. It was a very cool challenge. That it wasn't just one round and one drink. You had to prepare for a few. Even in the London Heat was already like 2 serves. And then when I made it to UK final, it was amazing because the final was already like a mini global final, global heat. That there was a speed round, there was the market challenge, there was questionnaires, and then slowly you were qualifying through until I suddenly ended up in the final. So I was with Stevie from Edinburgh against him face to face in the final round, and we both just had to make one drink, and it was just to catch the attention of the guests. I was just making a nice, like a eye-catching cocktail, and I was working so much on this because that was the last drink. So when you do like, okay, how I'm gonna make it to the final? Maybe I'm not, but I still like, I want to make sure that at least I have a drink ready in case I make it there. So I had a drink ready, but I never even thought about the name because I was like, come on. And suddenly I'm in the final. And when I presented my drink with there was a coriander base with yuzu, fino sherry. Imagine 11 years ago, I made a drink with yuzu. Yuzu juice, that time was like, nobody even knew what is yuzu juice here because I was already going to Japan and bringing all that stuff in with fino sherry again. Fino sherry that time was like, oh, that's Granny's drink. But try it in the cocktail, worked perfectly. And coriander, and I made I call it like a botanical steam, where I combine all the basic botanicals you would find in a gin, steep it in hot water, and throw it into a dry ice. So you had this amazing fog, which had this aroma of all the botanicals, which I was kind of linking into the Tanqueray number 10. And that was the winning drink. That's made me to a global final. And that was amazing thing. But what was the funny thing about that? That I presented the drink, and the speaker, what's his name? I forgot his name. He goes, "So Erik, what's the name of the drink?" And I had no name for the drink. And I goes, and I just looked right, and that time logo of the theme for the work class, the actual was Rising the Bar. So I just looked at that, and I see the sign, and I said, "Rising to the Sky."
That's it. Boom. Name done.
And that was it. I was like, yes, this is amazing, because of the steam was coming up. It's like Rising to the Sky.
That's legendary, man.
Just like literally named it on the spot.
That's it. That was enough, though, to win.
And that was it. So made it to global final. But right after that, because I was just like working like there's no tomorrow, I wasn't taking any holidays. Santi and Chichari come to me and was like, "Erik, you haven't taken a single day of holiday. If you don't take them, you're going to lose them. You need to go home." So I was like, okay, I'm going to go home. At least I had time to prepare myself. So I took 10 days off. And I'm at home reading 40 pages of the rules. And last few days before end of my holiday, I'm out with my friends, and one of my friends goes like, "Hey, do you want to come and taste some wines? My father had some amazing wines." So, "Oh yeah, let's go." So we went to his wine cellar. We tasting a couple of wines, and as we was walking upstairs, dark cellar, couldn't see anything, low ceiling. I just hit my head so badly against the ceiling that I broke my tooth, like badly. I look into the mirror, it's like, oh my God, I can't go to work class like this. It's like half of my teeth was missing. Next day, straight to a dentist, fixed that. Following day, I flew back to London. I went straight to work. And in the evening, I started having this headache. And this headache was just getting worse and worse and worse. I had one painkiller, second painkiller. I came home from work, another painkiller before sleep. And like 4 o'clock in the morning, I was in such a bad pain that I just could not move. So in the morning, I had to call Ago and all the guys. Like, I can't even move. I don't know what's going on. Like my whole body feels like I'm paralyzed. This was a Friday morning. And I need to go to a hospital. So I ended up in the hospital. Luckily, the hospital was just across the street where I lived that time. I go to a hospital and I said, like, I'm having this pain from head going to my fingertips. I can't feel my fingertips going all the way to my legs, and I just feel terrible. And the doctor said, just take some painkillers. So, excuse me? Like, I took RD5 and I came to a hospital and you telling me take a painkiller? It's like, I'm not leaving this ambulance until there's someone else come and check me out, because I'm not taking any more painkillers. So they looked at me, it's like, what? Yeah, I want to see another doctor. And they goes like, yeah, but we have to wait here for an hour. I was like, I don't care. I will be waiting even for 2 hours. I don't mind. So I waited. Doctor came, called me in, took me to a scan. As I was coming out from a scan, I collapsed. Suddenly, I just wake up in a room. I'm in a hospital room on a Friday. Suddenly, Barry Wilson is calling me, Erik, are you ready for this filming you're doing for world class shot? I was like, Barry, I'm in a hospital. I've got tubes in my veins. I don't know what the hell is going on here. It's like, what? Shit, no way. It's like, really? So keep me posted, because we're flying on Sunday. Sunday, we're flying to Greece for the global final.
Okay.
I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to be here. Like, okay, let's see. I stayed over Friday in the hospital, and the pain was just not disappearing. So they started like, what happened? Have you had any accident? Something happened to you? Did you had a car accident? It's like, no, nothing. And then I was just like, wait, I remember last week I hit my head. I was like, so we know the problem. They did the scan again, and they see when I hit my head, my tooth hit the nerve, but the nerve started dying like 3 days later. So I already forgot that actually happened, and the nerve started dying inside my jaw, and it was incredible pain. So I ended up in the hospital for like overnight. Next day, I just got a bag of painkillers and antibiotics, and I just asked them, like, tomorrow I'm supposed to fly. Am I okay? It's like, yeah, just take this, and you will be fine. So that's how I came to World Class Global Finals with a bag of painkillers,
antibiotics
and my equipment.
You must have been very nice and relaxed, I guess.
It was relaxed because I wasn't drinking any alcohol because I was obviously taking the painkillers. And for me, it was just like focus, purely focus on the presentation and try not to mess it up. And that's probably helped me because I've seen that some people, they see it, oh, this is an opportunity for great party, lots of free booze. And I said, for me, this is an opportunity to get somewhere and do something. So I took it very, very seriously, and I was super focusing on my rounds, and that's probably helped me that I was just there and I was just focusing on that.
How did it, well, obviously it went very well. Like, what sort of recommendation would you give to someone who's going through the world class?
The thing was, it was so unpredictable. It was like I couldn't see. I didn't even had a thought that I could win it because the challenges were so tight. And when I see the next bartender who was before me or after me, I was like equally as good. So I had no hopes whatsoever. And for me, it was just like only one thing. It's just like you need to try, you need to go, because world class, it's when you go there, you bring in your whole entire experience. It's just like try not to focus on what is that 2-minute challenge is about, but what you learn in 12 years, bring it to that 2 minutes of presentation. And that's how I was seeing it, because there were challenges which we were completely, you couldn't prepare for. It was just like a challenge on the spot. They give you, I think it was like €50. That was a market challenge. Market is down on the road, buy your ingredients, you have 50 minutes now, bring them and create 2 cocktails. And over there, it was just like, okay, what I can work with, seasonality. First thing, what is in the season now. So I went through the market, tried the fruits, which are the tastiest one, and came up with the 2 drinks. And those are the kind of things. And this is something that you learn through like today, that you keep learning something new that you can then implement into it. That's how I went through that.
How did you feel when you've realized that you won?
The thing was, when they were announcing it, I was like, okay, maybe I can get a challenge, because they were announcing the challenge winner of each. And then I said, okay, I think in a speed run I was doing pretty well. Suddenly speed run was won Heinz Kaiser from Austria with a broken finger. He broke his finger before world class and he won the speed run, which is insane. I said, okay, I was probably not that good.
Were you all crippled during work class?
Yeah, we were all kind of like, survivals, like went through some sort of injuries. And then was another one I felt quite confident, was the food pairing. I think the food pairing was one. And the classic cocktails. I felt confident there. I set up my bar. I did so much that put myself into a perfect preparation mode. And then I thought, okay, maybe that challenge. And then challenge is gone. I said, okay, this is. I was just sitting on a chair, heads down. And there's a guy next to me, Adam from Australia. He was next to me. And the winner is GB. And he just knocked at me and said, what? He said me. And I was like, I can't believe it. And I couldn't believe it either, because when I came back to London, I almost forgot my trophy there. We were on the way to the airport and they asked me, like, Erik, where's your trophy? I said, damn, I left it at the hotel. So the whole bus had to turn back, go back to the hotel, get the trophy back to the airport. But when I came, for me, it was just like a bit of a moment, shocking moment, that after that I literally started realizing that actually something big happened, because it just slowly was building up and building up and building up. That phone call from here, message from here, and then we would like you to help us on consulting on this, and we want you to work on this with us, and would you be interested to taste these chocolates, like so many things. And then following year was where the world class next year kicked off, so I was just like flying a ref flight center, getting involved with everything. And then shortly after, I've got the offer from the Savoy Hotel.
So you were overlooking the reopening of the American bar, which is probably one of the bars that defined our industry. How did you feel about, like, how was the task ahead, and what were the challenges that you faced, and how did you go about it?
So the challenge was quite big, because there was a big opening, obviously, iconic opening. That it wasn't just the bar, it was the hotel, and so many things that need to be looked into. And most importantly for me was like a big decision to make, because I loved the Connaughts. I was very happy there with amazing team. I remember the week when I came back from Greece from the global final. I won the world class. I came back, and Ago and Santino, they went to New Orleans. And a few days later, they flew back, and Ago International Bartender of the Year, Tales of the Cocktails, and we won the hotel bar, best hotel bar of the year. So in 1 week, we picked the world class, we won the Tales, and I was working in an amazing team. I was just like, I love this. This is the best team, best place. I can work and be a part of it. So I wasn't really even thinking to go elsewhere, but they offer me this, and then people start saying like, Erik, this is a big decision, this is a big opportunity for you, and I think you should definitely go for it. So when I said yes, I'm taking it, then I just realized that like, whoa, this is something super, super big, because it's not just a bar, it's the legacy, it's the history of the bar, it's the people who work there, and you need to be becoming a part of that circle, and making sure that it's not going to fail, that the bar will be still recognized and it'll come back to the map of the best bars. So myself and Daniel, we were in the opening team, and we just need to preserve the bar. We just need to start from scratch, as the bar was known for with classic cocktails. So Daniel suggested like, let's do classic cocktails. I said like, okay, we do that, and I just perfect them. I just came up with the recipes that this would be the techniques to make the dry martini this way, make the daiquiri that way, make the Ramos Fizz this way. So every single classic cocktail, just to make them to perfection. And that's how the American bar started. So the first opening menu was actually just classic cocktails. And then because we've been closed, the bar was closed 3 years. So imagine those people who were coming there for years, and they obviously been super excited to come back. And you don't want to bring in something which was, I don't know, with the airs on the top or infused with this and that. They just used to have known the American bar as such a classic institution. So it's like slowly, we need to get to know these guests and make them feel comfortable that with the new reopening, with the new team, new management, nothing has changed. You're still welcome, and you found this place always as your favorite place, and always you will find your PSS cocktail there as you wish.
But I think one of the elements of your tenure there that took me a while for me to fully understand was your ability to be the perfect bridge in between what happened before and the new trends. So you kind of brought the American bar into the present era of bartending, but you still managed to keep a strong relationship with the past. And I think one of the strong things that you did was the relationship that you kept with the previous head bartenders, which is something that not everyone would have thought of doing, but you kind of excelled at it, haven't you?
Yeah, well, for me was one of the biggest privilege that when I became a part of the American bar team, and then I just looked back, I started digging into that. It's like, okay, Salim was still in the team, so I worked with Salim Curry, but it's like, yeah, Peter Dorley. I met Peter on the world class, but it's like, who was before Peter? So I asked Peter, it's like, Peter, I've got this information, there is this Victor Gover, and then can you tell me about this? And he goes, man, we meeting once every Sunday. Come with us for lunch. And suddenly me, young kid, show up for this day meeting, and suddenly there is Victor Gover, Salim Curry, and Joe Gilmore. And I was
no
like,
way.
what? Yes, met Joe Gilmore. And then I was like, so Joe, he was the longest working head bartender. So imagine that. So when I met Joe, this is like, so you were there when you met Harry Craddock? And he said, yeah. Well, he met Harry Craddock on the autumn of his life. When Harry retired, he always used to come still to the park, Embarkment Garden. He says, like, he used to come to the park, and I used to go and see him out when I was old Harry. And for me, that was like, oh my God, what I've got here, it's something so unique and so rare that we have to capture this moment and share with the world that this is such a unique bar that has a legacy of so many bartenders, and half of them are still with us. So we should celebrate them. And that was again because thanks to my dear friends from Cocktail Spirits, that's when they called me to do the presentation on the American bar. And that was Xavier Padovani. I said, Xavier, I have an idea. The idea is that I will talk about the American bar, but I don't want to talk myself. And he goes, what do you mean? I want to bring all the living bartenders with me to Paris. It's like, you crazy? You sure? It's like, fund the budget and I'll bring them over. So I said, no, this is a job done. Yeah, definitely. Yes, we are doing this. So I came to the bar. I told Daniel, Daniel, we have amazing opportunity, presentation at Cocktails and Spirits, and I have an idea what we're going to do. And we will bring all of us. It's like, what do you mean, all of us? It's like, yeah. Salim, Peter, Victor, we all go. I was like, you sure? Yeah. All done. I created a presentation, and the presentation was starting when the American bar was like a billiard room, as you remember, the cigar and whiskey bar, and then how it was developing until the closure and the new reopening. And that was the slideshow. It was starting from the very, very beginning till the closure and reopening. And then I goes, and with the reopening, and behind this legendary bar, there were legendary bartenders. So I was like, with the reopening, I'm the current head bartender, but before me, there was someone else. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Salim Khoury on the stage. And suddenly Salim Khoury walk on the stage. And everyone goes, oh, first time I'm seeing Salim. And all in white jackets. So Salim came on the stage, obviously Daniel as well, because he was a part of the opening team. I did him a couple of questions, and it was like, and before Salim, there was the one and only, who no introduction needed, Peter Doherty. Suddenly Peter comes, so there was a half an hour of talk.
Classic.
As Peter likes. And I was just like, shall we carry on? And everyone in the room was just like not even breathing. I was like, what's going to happen next? And this probably nobody would expect that there is someone else who is with us. You might never heard, might never seen, and today you have opportunity to see Victor Gover. And suddenly Victor Gover walks on the stage. That moment, nobody was breathing in the room. And Victor comes, and he had the medal he received OBA from Queen. So I told him, bring that medal, and I put it on the stage on his chest, and I was like, this is the bartender who been awarded by Queen for his services. And then it was like, and I've got another one. And that moment people gets like, I cannot believe this. What is this? It's like, okay, one is still with us, but can't be with us here right now. And that's Joe Gilmore. So what I did, I recorded Joe.
Cool.
I recorded him, so I put him on the stage. I put him on the screen. So Joe was just sitting in the bar and talking about it. And then we went from Joe to all the bartenders still who worked there. And that was probably for me one of the most memorable moments with all of them, that we created such amazing celebration of these bartenders who work there, and we could be there, and most importantly, let the others know that these people are not forgotten, because this would happen a lot in the past, that lots of legendary bartenders, that they just suddenly when they retire, they just got so forgotten, because this will happen to Harry. He wrote one of the most iconic cocktail book, and when he was dying, when he was passing away, he was even buried in a communal grave. He had no relatives. He lived in a healthcare house, and apparently, and I remember Jared Brown told me once that Harry Craddock was his era. He was so famous that even Madame Tussauds had his statue there. He was that famous. Imagine that. So if a bartender has a statue at Madame Tussauds, that means you were someone, and all of a sudden you are suddenly nobody even recognize you. So I thought this is something cannot happen. This need to change, and I want to make sure that all these guys who were before me, that they live with us. We celebrate them till today.
Well done. I mean, that's certainly a major thing to do, like to be able to share your presence there with everybody in the industry to make sure that this legacy is carried over. During your time at the American bar, you also had a separate venture where you managed to open your own bar in Bratislava.
Yeah.
So how did that come about, and what were the challenges that you faced?
That came about that my business partner, Karel Saas, he was actually the guy behind this first cocktail bar, Greenwich, I was talking about. So he was the owner of that. And ever since, now it's like more than 19 years, we're still friends. So we kept the contact. And I remember we were in Berlin, Barcom in Berlin. And he goes, so it was after 50 Best. So we had a 50 Best and then Barcom in Berlin, and we were there. And he goes, Erik, I'm looking at this 50 Best. I'm looking at the bars, and I'm seeing so many great Slovakian or Czech bartenders working in these great bars and on a list of 50 Best. And I felt so bad about that. There were so many of them coming from our country, but there is no such a bar. The country itself, it has no bar which would be like, this is the world-class bar. And he was like, I really would like to change this and bring those bars, because we had an amazing period where bars in Slovakia, in Bratislava particularly, were doing so well, but then everyone started leaving the country and suddenly the bars, they lost the essence. And he told me, like, do you remember this coffee shop we used to go always? Just off the main square, which was just like a couple meters from our bar I used to work. It's like, yeah. I've been dragging this owner of this bar for like 15 years. And I'm still doing it. And after 15 years, he told me, if you're still interested into that bar, you can take it over because I'm tired of it. So I was like, okay. I went home, went to see the place. It was like, okay, it's super old. It's been like for 15 years, exactly the same. Nothing has changed. But it's like tiny little place. It was like, we can do something very, very cool here. And he said, okay, we can do it as a partner. So I don't want you to be as a consultant, or I don't want you to just do me a favor. Do it as a partner in a business, and just come up with what we can do here and hire the team, do the program, do redone the bar, and we can do it. So it's like, okay, that sounds good to me. And the thing about the place was that in the 1950s, it started as an antique store, because that was very popular in Bratislava. There's so many antique stores in the whole town. And then the guy who owned it, he sold the antiques, he sold the shop, and the guy who had it for more than 20 years was like an antique cafe. So he had a little cafe there and was doing his business there. And it was such iconic. It's such an iconic style, because it's a high ceiling. The chandelier, which is in the bar we have, is still from the antique store.
Whoa, so that's 70 years old.
We never touched it. We couldn't, when we were doing the renovation, we didn't even take it off. We just kept it there because it's just so old. And yeah, so we kept so many things. The wooden paneling from one side was there. It was then on the other side. So I just like, let's do it from the other side as well. So we extended the wooden paneling. And because the space is so small, so we added mirrors. And I designed 2 perfect stations for bartenders, and that's how the whole thing started. And then I remember that Stan was doing some research, and he found that there was, I think in the 40s or 30s, there was an American bar called the American Bar. I was like, okay, this is cool. I love that there was American bar already here. So let's bring back that, because this is an antique place. We just keep that theme. We just change the antique cafe. It was an antique with a K to antique QA, American bar, because it used to be American bars in, put the white jackets on and do this very old-fashioned little bar out there. And that was the moment where I've seen that Slovakia needed a little bit of a kick to realize it's good that you're doing your own research on being creative and unique, creating your own cocktails, but in the same time, you need to be a bartender that when the bar guest comes into a bar and he tastes all your signature drinks, but his favorite is a Negroni, and you are unable to make him a great Negroni, then you need to do something about it. And that was the problem in Bratislava. I've seen that you went around the bars and you asked for daiquiri and it was still made with roses lime cordial. I was like, come on guys, step up. Dig into the recipe, and then you see that it can be done much simpler and much better and tastier. So I said, what I really want to do here, kind of like a reintroduction to all these classics, that's what the Bratislava bar scene was created when I started working in a Greenwich, because we had, on our menu was Mai Tai, Mojito, Daiquiri and all those drinks, and all of a sudden people now know those drinks, but they haven't had any place where we could have the perfect daiquiri, the perfect dry martini, or the Irish coffee. So I created a menu which was based on like 10 classic cocktails you should know through the day, because we were open all day. So it started with the light drinks and moving forward towards the end, like Vikare at that time in Slovakia. It's like, what is Vikare? Yes, Vikare, it's as old as this building, so you might know about it if you're a bartender. So we brought back all those, and that was the whole ethos of the antique, to bring back that beauty of classic and beauty of simplicity of drinks.
And so shortly after that, you have come to the conclusion of your tenure at the American bar at the Savoy. So how did that come about?
That the short conclusion took nearly 8 years of thinking and researching and finding the courage of like, okay, it's time to open a bar. But it was 3 years of negotiation on the project, on the space, on the lease. So I've been at the Savoy and 3 years, and was already going to that site, doing meetings and negotiating and waiting. Most importantly, waiting, because to get a new lease, it took us nearly 15 months to organize that. So 3 years took the whole thing, when it comes to a stage where in 2018 I've got all the papers in front of me saying, you're good to go. It's all happening now. It's no longer just a dream. It's no longer just on the paper, but soon it's going to be a reality. Just need to do the next step and just step out and go for it. So I said, yeah, I'm definitely going for it. I feel now is the time, because if it's not now, then when? And I always wanted to do this, and always was dreaming about a bar here, and in such a beautiful city as London, and especially the location, because for me the location was so magical. I didn't want to rush to just open a bar just for the sake of having it open, but the location is so unattractive or so difficult to find, because this is a thing in London, like if you are not in the right location, we have a problem that we are not chefs, that if you open a little restaurant in Prague, and if you are great, you're able to book it out for 6 months in advance. With the bars, it doesn't work. No matter how great you are, it's still just a drink. And I said, like, I like to stay here in Central. I know it's not easy. I know it's not cheap, but I'm sure there will be a day I can find it out. And luckily, this was the site that I found. It was like size perfect, location perfect, the way how it's built perfect, because I could do so many things that I always wanted to do. And so I'm very, very happy that it actually all came together. And it was a long journey for sure.
So how did you feel when you handed in your notice at the Savoy?
It was I remember it was a very rainy day.
Classic.
And very, very, let's put it this way, wonderful weather in London. And I had my day off, and I called Declan that I'd like to meet. And he told me after that, like, when I called him and I told him, like, I'd like to meet you and I'm nearby, he said, okay, I knew there's something coming.
Yeah, I must have felt it, right?
Yeah. He said that the moment you called me and he said you are nearby, which means like you were prepared already for something, and that's just not just like, hey, what's going on? What's up? So I came in and I said, hey, Declan, I've got this opportunity. It's coming all together, and been working on this for like nearly 3 years, and we are in the final stage, just about to sign the papers, but it's going ahead, and I want to go for it. I want to take it. So he just hugged me, shook me, was like, congratulations, well done. Just keep it for yourself. I was like, listen, I couldn't tell anybody because I don't even want to anyone know then apart from you, and then I'm just following your instructions to you tell me what you want me to do, and then how we're going to do all this. So but he really took it so nicely that he organized a meeting with Hamish from drinks business. So he booked the Royal Suite, and I did an interview with him. So I kind of like getting this all out, like what is coming, what is happening, and Hamish, because Hamish was called in and without telling him like why we wanted to come in. So Declan actually sent him a limo to pick him up from home, bring him in. So Hamish was like, what the hell is this? There's something big going on here. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm coming. So he came in and I was just sitting there looking outside of the river. And then he walked in and it was like, so Declan did the introduction, you know how he does, and it's just like, so Erik, like to tell you something, and I was like, yeah, I'm leaving, and Hamish was like, what's going on here? Oh my god, guys, pen, paper, just let me write this all down. So yeah, cool. It was super emotional.
But I think just to say a quick word about Declan, who's the current bars manager at the Savoy, is that he's such a great manager, not only because he's great at what he does, but because he has your own development in mind. He's the kind of guy who encourages you to move on if he sees that the opportunity for you is correct, right?
Totally.
Cool. So talk to us about Kwãnt. What's the brief? What's the main concept, and how did you go about opening it?
So when I found the Kwãnt, that was through Douglas Ankar. So Douglas came once to Savoy and he said, so, hey, what's up, man? What are you up to? What are you doing? What's your plans? And then I said, you know what? It's been going around for so long that there's rumors that Erik's leaving at the Savoy, and that was, I remember, I think 2 years after when I started working there, Daniel called me to the office. I was like, Erik, I heard that you're leaving. What's that about? I was like, what? Yeah, there's a rumor saying, do you want to tell me something? I was like, Daniel, do you have my notice in front of you? No. It's like, then I'm not leaving. And then it was again, like 3 or 4 times. I was literally like serious rumors that I'm leaving, and I don't even know about this, but anyway. And then I said, you know what? Because this is all going around, I just was open to talk about that I'm opening a bar. I'm looking for a site. And if someone comes to opening a bar, it's like, yeah, am I open? No. Did I resign? No. Then I'm here. Just take it as I'm here. And I was just like, yeah, I'm looking for a site. I want to open my own bar without like, but please don't tell anyone. I was like, but if you don't tell, then you won't get anywhere. Month later, he literally calls me like, hey, you know Murad Mazuz, the owner of Sketch and Momo? I was like, no, but I heard about the places, yeah. I was like, he's got one side I'd like to show you. So I met him. We met at the Momo, at the terrace, and then he took me downstairs and says like, oh my God, what a sight. I walked in and straight away I could imagine it's like, I know exactly what I want to do here. I know exactly that it's evoking me to create something, because when I walked in, it was black walls, a black ceiling, dance floor, and DJ booth, and a bar which has been there for 20 years. I said, everything what is here, just out and turn it into something very tropical, warm, because you are in a low basement, low ceiling, to make it almost like you are not even in London, like completely take your mind away from here to create something very tropical, almost like a different version of Casablanca, and do it in a very experimental way, that we keep the design to make it look as it is, what you see today, but I don't want the drinks to be tropical. I don't want to be like a tiki bar. Something which I've been working on for so long and I always wanted to get it out. It's like, what is the modern drinking of today? If you go to a bar and you want to have a drinking experience, what should be the drinks you should taste or try? What are the techniques you really want to work with? And in the bar, we had this little, because it was a nightclub that time, so they created kind of like a VIP room. And I said, I want this to close and here to have our playroom where we can play and work and develop, which I always was missing so much. As you know, in the Savoy, all the preps behind the bar before 11 o'clock, which is insane.
Limited space, you see.
So, and I was like, come on, we need to push this game up, because we're in the 21st century. You go to a restaurant and you see the chefs have so much tools to work with, play with, and you go to a bar and you're doing almost your prep on your knees because you have nothing. So with that, it was amazing combination of creating something where I can even execute it. It's not just dream about it, talking about it, but you can't execute it. So for me, this was the crucial part, that I want to make sure that I create a workplace where everyone who comes in works, that they enjoy the work while they are there. No matter how busy you are, how stressed you are, that you're still enjoying it. Because obviously being busy and stressed, it's part of our work. If you don't have that, probably you were working in such a boring bar, nothing happening there. But the most importantly, it's to have that possibility to work and self-develop yourself constantly, that you're working on yourself and doing something cool for it and being a part of it. So I was like, I want to bring everything out, which I always wanted to work with. So to create what you see in a nutshell, but creating a drinks list that would be purely focusing on the product, technique, and telling something to a guest, how we achieve that, and seeing the final product that just in a beautiful hand-cut design glass by ourselves. So I worked with a designer who I told him, like, I want to have a shape of the Martini glass, shape of a highball, shape of a rock. So all the glassware I've designed with the designer, rather than just go to shop, pick highball, rock, Martini, whatever, and use that. So it was like every single element I want to be involved to make sure that create a perfect synergy of the great bar experience.
And you happy about it? Like, because now you've been doing it for quite a while. So are you satisfied? Any challenge that you think you didn't see it coming, or you're quite satisfied?
Yeah, like there are so many things I would do differently this time. Like, more prepared so many things in advance, because obviously once you're opening a bar, it's all about time and money. So, but that's how you go and learn through that process. So overall, I think what came out, it was amazing, because lots of drinks we had on our menu. Last menu was all created back home in my kitchen, because I left the Savoy and I had no place to work. So I was just like experimenting in my kitchen, and finally having the opportunity to see them in all live. I said, like, I couldn't wish for more, because I know how much hard work was behind it that's required to get there where I am today. So I'm very pleased, but that's I think I was very lucky as well at the same time, because I had amazing team. I have an amazing team that worked on this and made sure that everything what I had in my mind on the paper, it actually came to life exactly as I was imagining it. So like from the moment when I've seen the space, like building the cabinets when you're entering for the vintage bottles, to creating a corner for tap cocktails, to building EvoGrow system where we grow our herbs inside the bar. So it's inside the bar behind the dispense station. And it's like, it's so many things that are just like, if you plan it so much ahead, it might just like, oh, this doesn't work, this can't work, this, it's like, when you put suddenly things together, you realize like, oh, you made a mistake about 20 centimeters and suddenly that doesn't fit here. And all of a sudden, all those things just kind of perfectly are set up there, that just like, I'm so amazed that actually worked well, so that we are comfortable, can work and do such a high volume you wouldn't even think of.
That's fantastic. So what's the plan for the future? You planning to open more venues?
Well, future plan is open again the London venue first.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's very true.
Because we are in a very difficult situation right now, and we're just waiting and hoping that it's actually come to the end. And as we close, we will reopen. Hopefully, reopen very soon. Which unfortunately at the moment we don't know yet. But I think the main, I don't even think of anything else apart from getting this started and then just carry on with this. And I'm always open for anything that is interesting, that if something comes up, someone would say, oh, love the concept, love what you've done, and I'd like to bring this to, I don't know, to Thailand or Indonesia, and if I see there's a great opportunity, why not? But at the moment, obviously, I'm not in my mind to open 50 bars and do a massive chain, because I know how much dedication and time required to get there where we are, and that wouldn't be possible. Like, yeah, it is possible, but then you need to go from your goal is 100%, you will be probably achieving 70%.
Mm-hmm. So You're an extremely well-traveled bartender. Can you tell us one market that you visited that really surprised you?
Surprised me?
Because in London, we're spoiled for choice, right? You've got a little bit of everything, and it's such an amazing city. But I was wondering if there's any place that you visited that like left you thinking, wow, this is awesome.
I think I had this about 5-6 years ago. Was Indonesia, in Jakarta. I was super impressed because I never traveled so far, and to see so many great things. And I think Latin America would be definitely the next Latin America, which I think it's Mexico, Peru. I remember I walked into a bar, and every drink I've tasted in Lima in this bar, it was made of ingredients I never heard of. Apart from, so basically this is the bar was part of the restaurant of Central, and everything what they were using there was locals only, local ingredients. So everything what I've tasted, I had like a pisco, I got that, and everything else what he was telling me like this is this is this. I was like, I have no idea. And the reason why, because they were saying like many of those local ingredients, they never reach Europe or never leave Peru because they are so seasonal that they're just not exporting them. And that was such an amazing experience for me.
Fantastic. Cool. We finally arrived at our last question, which we ask everyone. So if you could choose your last drink, what would that be?
The last drink? Came to my mind the last word probably.
Yeah.
Well, last drink, last word, and then you can bury me.
Awesome. Cool, Erik. Thank you very much for your time. It was awesome to talk to you.
No, pleasure mine, Michele. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed our chat with Erik. You can find us on Instagram at unjiggered_media or follow our personal accounts at mmariotti89 for Michele, Alex J. Murphy for myself, and Adrian Bessa for Adrian. Thank you for listening.